sorry.
Glenn is inspired by Indigenous peoples' understanding of the world and their respect for nature. Glenn's direct experience with spirit is more important to him than the structure of religious beliefs. Thus, he is oriented towards shamanism. And Glenn is the author of this book. He's made documentaries.
It's over there.
Lots of information on Glenn over there at the back. And you've done a lot of things, haven't you, Glenn? Radio host,
School teacher.
School teacher, shop owner. You had
Barrel rider.
yeah, a little bit of everything. So yeah, without further ado, I think I'll get Glenn up here to take over.
Thank you all for coming. First, I'd like to thank Ben and Kayla. They put in a full day getting all this set up and getting it to work, which is, this is not easy. I mean, next time it'll be easier, and every time you do something, it gets better and better. It's been a while since I've done a lot of public speaking, so I hope you enjoy what I have to offer. This is the first time it's been live streamed that I've ever done. I've been videotaped before, but that's different. This is all new, so it should be fun. The name of the talk is The Medicine Wheel, or I think it's called Medicine Wheels on the Theosophical page, but what's in the title? But we're covering the meanings, teachings, and uses. And of course, in all my talks, I kind of wander away, which I think it makes it more interesting, more fun. So it's nice to see almost no empty chairs here. We've got a pretty good full house, so that's good. Sorry. So occasionally I'll have to read from my notes. You'll have to forgive me for that, so I'll have my glasses ready when I need them. Even though I printed it big, it wasn't big enough. So, and I'll have to cue Ben for the next slide. So, next slide. Oh, thank you, Facebook audience, for being here. Glad to have you on board. Wave. Okay. Medicine wheel, ancient symbol of the universe used to help people understand things or ideas that we often cannot see. So that's about clearing our third eye, if you want to see more. It's a major symbol of a peaceful interaction among all living things on Earth. It can be expressed in many different ways, and it reflects the cosmic order in the unity of all things in the universe. Next. Reflects several concepts that are common to many Aboriginal approaches to helping wholeness, balance, connectedness, or relationships, harmony, growth, and healing. Wholeness fits everything together. Balance, one element can be focused on more than others. Harmony with others, the world, and within ourselves to have a good life. Growth, learning, to evolve, the developing body, mind, heart, spirit. Healing, viewed as a journey, something that is practiced daily throughout our lives. And the medicine wheel is also used to express many relationships that can be expressed in sets of 4, which is not entirely true, as you'll soon see. So next. The basics, let's just get through some of the basics, because there's so much information. I before even looking into this, I knew a little bit about a medicine wheel. And I actually made a pretty good size one in our yard or on our land. And just recently for this talk, I've been researching it more and more, as you do. And I've just been fascinated by all the information and how widespread the use of it is. And it's not just all across America, but north, south, all throughout the world, and even here in New Zealand. And so we have the directions, the elements, the seasons, colors, aspects, herbs, and even more than this list. This list only covers part of the basics. So next. This chart has a lot of information that those of you on Facebook can freeze frame this and get some more of the details of what's in each direction here. And this is at the bottom of this slide, it says, teachings gathered from many traditions. So there's a lot of crossover in the traditional use of the medicine wheel, of what, especially in what goes where. Like some of them have the buffalo in the north, others have the eagle in the north, and some have the buffalo in the south, and this and that. And like there is a medicine wheel in Australia that doesn't even have a buffalo, and they replace it with a kangaroo, which is fine. But what the really sad thing is, they replaced the bear, which if I was Native American, I'd probably be from the bear clan. Guess what they replaced that with in Australia? Frog.
Oh.
What? It's who knows why, but anyway. Next slide, please. There's not 4 directions. This is one of the misnomers. There's actually 7. But you have the 4 basic cardinal directions. Then straight up, another direction, Father Sky, Mother Earth down below. And in the center is actually a direction because you move within that direction to go within. And it is a direction, even though it's stationary. Because when you go within, there is no time, there is no space, but you're going somewhere. So that's the actual key, and the reason for the whole thing is to come into the center. Because that's what we all are, that's what our journey is about, coming back into ourselves to see who we really are. We're just carry this outside shell. I'm trying to remember the term. I just finished a book, and she had a really good term for the physical body. And sorry, I can't come up with it right now. Anyway, this is just carrying around our consciousness. We're in the physical, carrying this shell around with us, and it kind of holds us back because our mind far exceeds what this shell can do. And we all feel like in one way or another we're crazy, and we are, because our bodies can't keep up with our minds can't keep up with our hearts. So that's where we're all headed. Get out of our heads and into our hearts. Next. So let's start with, get back to some of the basics. Like I said earlier, we have the buffalo in the north in this tradition, wolf in the south, bear in the west, and eagle in the east. Now, the buffalo, I have a lot of information on this one. So I'm going to read some of this. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll just leave that one up for a while. This is some Native American art from, I think it's mostly Hopi and Athabascan. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
The Native Americans see the birth of the white buffalo as the most significant prophetic signs, equivalent to the weeping statues, bleeding icons, and crosses of light that are becoming prevalent within the Christian churches today, where the Christian faithful who visit these signs see them as renewal of God's ongoing relationship with humanity. So do the Native Americans see the white buffalo calf as the sign to begin life's sacred hoop. It is a symbol of the coming golden age. Next slide. Now, the one in the middle here is named Miracle, and it was born August 1994 in Janesville, Wisconsin. When I was doing the research on this, I was blown away because I went to Google Maps just to see where that was. It's less than 100 miles from where I was born, so I thought that was very cool. We went to Arizona back in 2005, and that's a picture that I took when we were there. We happened to run into a guy named Silverwolf in Sedona, and we got to know him. We had many interactions, and then ran into them the very next day, kind of a real synchronistic thing, and we just became instant friends. And then out of the blue, he says, "Do you want to go see a white buffalo?" And we didn't even know there was one in the area. And he drove us about 50 miles north of Sedona to go see this thing. So we spent an afternoon doing that and taking pictures and having a good time. But anyway, there's it's a very amazing symbol for the Native Americans, a white buffalo. And this is not an albino. If you look at the eye, an albino will have a pink eye. That is not an albino. Oh, the buffalo nickel. I happen to bring one with me. Maybe. Maybe not. Thought I did. I'll check later. I'm going to tell you the story of the white buffalo calf woman. Unfortunately, I don't have it committed to memory, so I'm going to have to read it to you. Now, these are the words of Chasing Horse is his name. We Lakota people have a prophecy about the white buffalo calf. How that prophecy originated was that we have a sacred bundle, a sacred peace pipe, that was brought to us about 2,000 years ago by what we know as the white buffalo calf woman. The story goes that she appeared to two warriors at that time. These two warriors were out hunting buffalo, hunting for food in the sacred Black Hills of South Dakota, and saw a big body coming toward them. And they saw that it was a white buffalo calf. As it came closer to them, it turned into a beautiful young Indian girl. That time, one of the warriors thought bad in his mind, and so the young girl told him to step forward. And when he did step forward, a black cloud came over his body, and when the black cloud disappeared, the warrior who had bad thoughts was left with no flesh or blood on his bones. The other warrior kneeled and began to pray. And when he prayed, the white buffalo calf, who was now an Indian girl, told him to go back to his people and warned them that in 4 days she was going to bring a sacred bundle. So the warrior did as he was told. He went back to his people and gathered all the elders and all the leaders and all the people in a circle and told them that what she had instructed him to do. And sure enough, just as she said she would, on the 4th day she came. They say a cloud came down from the sky, and off the cloud stepped the white buffalo calf. As it rolled onto the earth, the calf stood up and became this beautiful young woman who was carrying the sacred bundle in her hand. As she entered the circle into the circle of the nation, she sang a sacred song and took the sacred bundle to the people who were there to take it from her. She spent 4 days among our people and taught them about the sacred bundle, the meaning of it. She taught them the 7 sacred ceremonies. So she was a teacher, and she was bringing this information to the people. One of them was the sweat lodge, or the purification ceremony. Another was the naming ceremony for child naming. The third was the healing ceremony. The fourth was making of relatives or adoption ceremony. The fifth was the marriage ceremony. The sixth was the vision quest. And the seventh was the Sundance ceremony, the people's ceremony for all of the nation. I've just been reading about the Sundance ceremony, and wow, that's incredibly powerful. She brought these 7 ceremonies and taught our people the songs of the traditional ways, and instructed that as long as we perform these ceremonies, we would always remain caretakers and guardians of the sacred land. She told us that as long as we took care of it and respected it, our people would never die and would always live. When she was done teaching all our people, she left the way she came. She went out of the circle, and as she was leaving, she turned and told her people that she would return one day for the sacred bundle, and she left it, which we still have to this very day. The sacred bundle is known as the white buffalo calf pipe because it was brought by the white buffalo calf woman. It's kept in a sacred place, green grass, on the Cheyenne River Indian Reservation in South Dakota. It's kept by kept by a man who is known as the keeper of the white buffalo calf pipe, Averil Looking Horse. When the white buffalo calf woman promised to return again, she made some prophecies at the time. One of these prophecies was that the birth of a white buffalo calf would be a sign that would be near the time when she would return again to purify the world. What she meant by that was that she would bring back harmony, again, balance, and spirituality. No matter what happens to Miracle in the coming months and years, Joseph Chasing Horse says the birth is a sign from the Great Spirit. The ensuing age of harmony and balance it represents cannot be revoked. So I felt very honored to be taken to see this white buffalo. There is Miracle was the first, and I'm guessing that there's maybe a dozen now. Would that sound about right? And it's not just buffalo that are coming back as white animals. I've done some further research. There's other animals. We now have white wolves. We have ravens. Even I've even seen. I've seen a picture of a white tui here in New Zealand. White chipmunks. Lots and lots of different animals. They're very rare, and they're not albino, which is incredible. So anyway, that was from Chasing Horse was the who had wrote that little article. So, let me check my pocket one more time for that coin. I stuck it in my pocket. It's supposed to be there, and all I have is crystals. Oh, sorry. Next slide, please. When the white eagle of the north is flying overhead, the browns, reds, and golds of autumn lie in the gutter dead. Remember then that summer birds with wings of fire playing come to witness spring's new hope, born of leaves decaying. Just as new life will come from death, love will come at leisure. Love of life, and giving without measure, gives in return a wondrous yearn, with promise almost seen. Live hand in hand, and together we'll stand on the threshold of a dream. That, of course, I'm sure some of you recognize the Moody Blues. That's a very beautiful song and lyric there. Next slide. The spirit of the wolf resides in my heart, most peacefully, yet ever wild, running in time to the blowing wind. dancing in the clouds that drift in the heavens. The spirit of the wolf resides in my soul, longing to hear the song of the Great One, striving to be that which I am in any natural state, succeeding only because of the love that the universe grants me. Now I have it, you can see a little icon in the lower left. I couldn't get it to work. It's a wolf howl. So, oh, there you go. For some reason it didn't work. Next, please. Now this is a interesting photo. It's a little girl, and that picture on the left was taken in Russia, near Moscow. And there's a nice little poem that goes with that. It's fairly short, so bear with me if I can find it. Here we go. Small bear, big bear, you're holding them tight. Little chin rests on them, eyelids kissed goodnight. Just sang you a lullaby made up of gentle notes. Sang you about a butterfly that perhaps somewhere it gloats. White bear, brown bear, to sleep can't go without. In this old rocking chair, you bring my eyes delight. Soft bear, fuzzy bear, I hold you in my arms. My heart almost can't bear the love for your charms. And that was by Carmen Jane. Okay, next slide. We're going to move on to the herbs now. Now, these, we have cedar, tobacco, sweetgrass, and sage. But these also vary depending on location because you can't grow all of these everywhere, obviously. So these are one of the things that are obviously different in different locations. But in America, excuse me just a minute, tobacco is the one where you start, and it's in a sense the mother of all herbs there. So you begin with that one, and they use that as an offering to when you go into the forest and you want to take something from nature, you leave a pinch of tobacco as kind of payment or recognition or a homage to what you're taking from nature. So you're showing respect by leaving a little piece of tobacco. I think I had something written about that, but yeah, there's so much information just on tobacco that I was addicted for many, many years, and not knowing anything about it as a sacred herb. And they actually use it as a drug when using it properly and using it in a sacred manner. They can even hallucinate with it because you're telling your mind that it is a hallucinogen, and you don't actually, because our brains make these chemicals on its own. If you believe it, it's there for you. If you believe something is going to cure you, it will. And we know about the placebo effect, and it's so effective because our beliefs are what keep us going, but we have to grow beyond our beliefs, which is a whole nother story, which I won't go there. But anyway, our minds are such powerful instruments, and we have been, our entire society has been hijacked. I'm getting off course here, but I want to go, I need to talk about this. We have been hijacked. We've been led astray. We've been distracted. We've been told we're not good enough. We're too fat, too tall, too thin, not smart enough, this, that, and the other. And we just, we're manipulated and driven and told to buy things and told to obey and not question. And this is coming to an end because more and more people are awakening. They're awakening to their own sovereignty, to their own power, to their own divinity. So anyway, that's tobacco. And I finally did end it. I was a heavy smoker, and I trying to get back on track here. I quit about 25 years ago. So thanks to Donna, she helped me quit that. Next slide. We have sage is, which direction is that? Could you go back a slide? That's in the west. Let's go south. Sweetgrass. I think they're in the right area. Next. Yeah, sweetgrass, upper left. I should have realized that. Now, that particular strand, what they've done is they've taken it, actually 28 strands and wound them together. And this signifies the moon cycle, 28 days in a moon cycle. So that's actually a feminine, and being that it's in the east, which is, you have the north-south, which is the male, east-west is the female. So sweetgrass is on the female line, and that's why they weave 28 threads together there. Then in the south, you have sage, which is many people use sage as a purification thing, especially white sage. And you wrap it in bundles. Could you hold up a bundle there? That's sage, and you light it and you waft it over a person, and it's a purification, and it gets rid of entities, negative thoughts, negative vibrations, sort of a purification thing. And actually all of these can be used for that purpose, for purification ceremonies. And cedar is the last one. Don't know a whole lot about cedar, and then so I'm not sure on exactly why these 4 particular herbs are probably the most common within the Native Americans, but obviously other areas, like in South America, they'll have different herbs. Now, herbs, how do we know how to use them? Where did we get our information? I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of plants here on Earth in different forests and different areas. I mean, how did they come up with the idea of, like, South America, curare? Have you all heard of curare? It's a chemical. What they did is they dipped their darts in it, shooted at monkeys, and this is not as easy as it sounds. They'll spend a whole day chasing a monkey and get several darts into it. And what it does is it paralyzes them. And then they'll use that monkey for food for their tribe. But getting back to the curare, would you believe that's a mixture of 11 different herbs? It takes that many to make it. How do they know, out of the hundreds of thousands of plants, which ones to mix together to make curare? How do they know that? I'll tell you, the plants told them. You can tune into any consciousness, if you so desire, and get information. If you sit and go within, you get the answers, because everything is conscious. Absolutely everything. You can talk to rocks, crystals, plants, whales, and any kind of animal, whatever you want. You can talk to rocks, waterfalls. I mean, this is crazy. It sounds crazy to most people, but it's for me, it's true. Absolutely true. Next slide. Sweetgrass. I think I have some notes on this, so let's get a little more on sweetgrass. I think I told you about the 28 strands of that. Okay. Therefore, sweetgrass represents positivity, strength, connection to the Creator in all our relations. It represents the Mother, our Mother, Mother Earth. It is our connection to the land, to what is around us. Its smell, when burned dry, is a sweet smell, reminiscent of our ancestors. When fresh, it smells one of grass, a faint one. It smells fresh, it smells like comfort and home. When braided, sweetgrass can represent a few different concepts. In the Cree Ojibwa culture, for example, the three braids of sweetgrass can represent love, peace, harmony of mind, body, and spirit. So let's go back. Did we come, next slide, I think it's cedar? No, it's sage. We talked about that one. Let's go to cedar. There we go. This is growing, we have cedar hedge growing on 3 sides of our house, which is a protective tree. And this is, it's been pruned into a hedge. And I never made that connection before. And so it's a very powerful connection for our place. We have a very beautiful place out in the country, and we're blessed with spring water there, and it's just an awesome place. The magic quality of the eastern white cedar, Latin term thuja or thuya, could be the other pronunciation. Ancient Greek, it means to sacrifice, or thusia, a burnt offering. Given the nature of the uses of cedar as a smudge for protection and clearing, this connection is clear. The use of cedar for ceremonial and healing practices arose independently throughout the world. So this is, again, another example of a plant telling the people how to use it. So it's, I mean, when it didn't spread from person to person to person. It spread from plant to person in various parts of the world, because often these people can't even talk to each other because of language barriers or distance or culture or whatever. But when they're all getting the same information from this plant, it makes you think. Next slide. We have the 4 states of being. Actually, I think that's very limiting, but well, when you break it down to the basics, you have spiritual, physical, emotional, intellectual, but you can break each one of those down into a multiplicity of things, because we're all of us trying to heal these various aspects within ourselves. And that's the beauty of being human, because we're all unique. And we all look different, we all act different, we have different emotional reactions, we have different intellectual ideas and thoughts and habits. And that's the beauty of coming in contact with all these beautiful people on the planet, because we're all that one consciousness. And that's what going into the center, and that's the whole purpose of the medicine wheel, is coming to the center. You go around, you use the medicine wheel as a tool, and you look at others and see yourself. When you begin to see yourself in others, that's when the healing has begun. That's when you realize that the separation is an illusion. That what we look at others, and we'll see someone that we just can't stand, it's a reminder to look in ourselves. What is it in ourselves that we don't like? Because we have this reaction to another person. those reactions are a clue to what we need to look at within ourselves. Excuse me. Next slide. There are so many associations to various things in the medicine wheel, and that's the beauty I found within it. I mean, it's kind of frustrating to look at such a huge, beautiful concept as a medicine wheel and to have to limit myself to a little 90-minute talk or a 1-hour talk or whatever it's going to be. And the association to various disciplines is just mind-boggling. And you can take any one of these in so many different directions. In fact, I didn't get your slide up in my presentation. That was a beautiful slide. And well, didn't happen. Sorry, another sidetrack. But the association with the tarot, pentacles, swords, cups, and wands. And we didn't even talk about the 4 colors yet. If you didn't know, one of the representations of the colors itself are the races of the earth. Now they say there are 5, and they kind of group together here with the black and the brown together, which is fine. So 4, 5 races. There's only one race, really, the human race. So think of it that way. Just the fact that we have different colors, and the fact that also, I'll get into this later in the presentation, about our cosmic cousins. There's far more colors there. We're going to meet our cosmic neighbors soon enough. Next slide. Astrology. Now, this can get really confusing. There's so much stuff in astrology itself. It's just mind-boggling. It's just, to me, it's overwhelming. I like the simplicity of staying within shamanism and connecting with nature, and that makes it easy for me because astrology is connecting with the planets, the stars, the cosmos, and as much as I like being out of my mind, and I'd rather talk to a tree than some distant star. So, and another reason it's confusing, because it puts you in different houses. Like myself, I'm a Virgo, which is an earth sign, but for some weird reason, I'm also in the medicine wheel. I'm a bear, which is associated with water. I happen to have written a book about a water, and plug. So yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, am I water? Am I earth? Am I air? Am I fire? I think we are all of them. But the time we are born has very much to do with where we are on the astrology chart. The time of day. I mean, the medicine wheel itself is a time measurement thing. We begin in the north, and you always enter a sacred site, medicine wheel, in the north, and you exit the north. You travel clockwise. The east, which is the first direction you come to, represents youth. Then you go into the south, which is adult. You go to the west, which is you get older there, and then back to the north. So we make a trip in a clockwise direction, and that goes for north and south hemisphere. Next. Sacred geometry. Now, that's a whole nother topic. I mean, there's multiple books written on this topic and many people studying it. one comes to mind. I'm looking at the snowflake-like looking thing there. Masimur Amoto, and the photographs of crystallized water. And so we see medicine wheels everywhere in nature. The spirals, we have the tree of life, the Kabbalah, we have all these different representations. And it's just, they're different symbols for different ways of discovering ourselves. And that's all we're trying to do here, is discover who we really are individually and collectively. But the key is know yourself. Next. It's related to chemistry, and I wanted to talk a little bit about chemistry. I mean, this is another branching out, but I love to do that. And I made particular note of the noble gases here. Over on the right-hand side, we have what is known as the noble gases. And one of the attributes is the fact that stable. All the other elements, because of the number of electrons around the nucleus, are, it's not that they're even or odd or this and that. It's everything, they vibrate, they shake, they wobble, they rattle. They're not stable. So the noble gases, like, okay, the difference between hydrogen up on the first element has one electron. One electron, that's not going to be stable. That's going to rock back and forth. I mean, I'm exaggerating this motion, but it's going to be vibrating at an incredible speed, obviously. Helium has 2 electrons. They're balanced. And that's why it's a noble element. So it doesn't cause any vibration within it. And the whole point of bringing this relationship to the noble gases is the fact that ultimately we want to be stable within ourselves. We want to be strong. We want to be clear. We want to understand what's around us. We want to relate, and not in a fragmented way or reactionary way. We want to be at one with the environment. And to be that way, we need to be stable, odorless. No, well, I'm not odorless. But anyway, stable. So centered within ourselves. And so this is what our goal is. And then we get to a stable place, and then something throws us off, which is the beauty of life, because it's boring to be stable all the time. Just, after a while, you just go, well, what's next? Boom, then something hits you and you react and you start again. But you've already known that peace, that stability, that beauty within yourself. So the next time you have something happen to you, you know that you're off balance, but it's easier to get back there. And then you go to the next round, and then it happens again. And then you go back into stability, and it keeps happening. And by the way, the formula here, that's just how to figure something out. I'm getting sidetracked again. I had it in my notes, but it's kind of irrelevant. But anyway, I was listening to, lost his name. It's one of the 5 people we saw earlier. Can you name the 5 scientists we saw in Canada?
Bruce Lipton.
That's the one. Thank you. I was just listening to Bruce Lipton talk about the noble gases, and that's why I included this slide, because what he said about it was what I'm telling you now, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm just kind of tying it into this because it has to do with finding our center. Anyway, let's move on. Running out of time here. Okay, next. Another name for a medicine wheel is sacred hoops. And there's actually some crop circles out there. The most obvious one here was in Haskell wetlands, and this was in Kansas that appeared. I didn't get a year on that one. This next one, that was in Wiltshire in the UK, and that was in 2015. Sorry, I don't have any information on that one either. Next. This is a Hopi medicine wheel. I was just showing the relationship of, we have the four colors and you have the animals, the energy, the aspect, center, learning, balance, beauty, harmony. Next. Cherokee, very similar, same colors. Next. Path to healing. Now, you don't even have to think of the word healing, because we're going back and forth in and out of healing daily, constantly, but we don't think of it in those terms. We're going in and out of balance. Our brain waves are constantly shifting. We're going from alpha to beta, and then we go to sleep, and we go into the deeper levels. But we need awakeness, we need rest, we need water, we need food, we need shelter. There's nothing else we need. We don't have to have a cell phone. We don't have to have big screen TV, a big car, big house. We've forgotten how to live with nature. That's what we really need. We need to know ourselves. We need to know our neighbors. We need to see our neighbors as ourselves, because there is no separation. We're one consciousness with the illusion of being separate beings. We're deluded into thinking we're separate from the earth, that we can stomp on it and rip things out of it and use it for whatever we want to use, and make another car, cell phone, whatever, and not have no regard for the earth itself, which is a sad state of affairs. People are waking up to this, and we're starting to say, that's enough. We've got to stop doing this. We are literally destroying the earth if we continue on this path. We're all on a path to healing. We're all on a path to self. And when we get to self and heal ourselves, then we can extend that out to others and become healers ourselves. Once you heal yourself, you can begin to heal others. But that's another misnomer, because we can only heal ourselves. When you go to a healer, they're creating the conditions that enable you to heal yourself. So you extend that out further and further. You go to your family, your friends, your community, your town, cities and towns, and you expand it out to a nation, to a continent, to the earth. And soon we're going to be connecting with our cosmic neighbors. Now, this is evident. I mean, we've been told for many, many years that we are alone. And many people have bought into these beliefs that we are the only planet with intelligent life. Yeah, it's a joke. So I would say the majority, I mean, it's well over 50% now accept the concept of extraterrestrials. The thought of us being alone in the universe is ludicrous. So we're about to meet our cosmic neighbors, and it'll probably happen within my lifetime, and I'm pretty old. Anyway, next slide. Medicine wheels around the world. Yeah, it's the most evident ones are obviously in North America, and that's where they're the most well known. But they're throughout the world in different forms. Next. Forgot his name. It'll come up. But the guy that put this together is an Earth Day celebration ceremony. And he put together these various groups. How are we doing for time? Just about an hour. Okay. That's difficult to read. What's on the screen? Oh. So let me go through my notes if I have it here. But, sorry, I don't have it.
It's on the next slide.
Oh, okay, that's right. Thank you. Don't know my own presentation. Thank you. Next. There he is, Dr. James Callum. And this is his latest book, I think. He's written probably a dozen books. Fascinating author. Forward by Barbara Hen Clow. Anyone heard of her? She's a well-known spiritual writer. But what he did is he wanted to connect all these different people and have a celebration or a ceremony on the same day, Earth Day, which I believe was April 22nd. And this was done in, I believe it was 2015 was the year that this took place. So yeah, he organized this event. So we'll just touch on the 4 directions. Next. So in the north, we who are in the north send the best greetings to the people in all the directions during the ceremony, the spirit of the earth. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. It's at the bottom of the screen. So next. In the east, now we're going clockwise. We started in the north, east. Medicine women, Ama Le Wei Ching in Bali on behalf of the native peoples of the East. As wisdom keepers and guardians of the East, we know ourselves to be nature. We converge to pray, sing our soul songs, and dance together as one being to bring forth peace, harmony, and prosperity for all. The power of our one mind, heart, and light will reign and shine through the clouds of change. We, as the communion of terrestrial and celestial energies, the yin-yang of life, embody the centered wholeness of Great Spirit. Next. In the south, we have the Kalahari Bushmen, the ones whose soul connects with the sacred wisdom of the ancestors, is who we look to for direction. We San Bushmen thank the ancestors for dancing the dream awake, and as we find the roots of the tree of life, continue to hold our light strong for a unified humanity. Okay. In the west, this is Havasupai Elder James Ukwala on behalf of the elders at the Eagle Coatzo Condor Gathering. Now, in the corner here, I put Time of the Sixth Day, and this is a documentary, and it was just released. I highly, highly recommend seeing that documentary. And it's online, and it's not just a documentary. He has all this extra footage of people that have been interviewed, and it's just quite amazing, just really awesome. I can't remember the woman's name that initiated this, but she spent 11 years putting all this together and filming all around the world in various countries. James Qualla, he's one of the 3 hosts that host the documentary, and they're all sitting there like a panel, and he's dressed in his native garb. He actually lives in the Grand Canyon, down in the canyon. You can't get there by car. It's 3 hours of horseback riding just to get to his village where he lives. So quite an amazing person this is. And anyway, next slide. Now, this is going showing how ancient some of these spirals and medicine wheels and circles and crop circles and all kinds of symbols of healing. So they've been around for a while. Next. This was some artwork, Sharon McLeod. I really liked that. I was drawn to put this one up because it's Australia, and it shows the kind of the Australian version of the medicine wheel. You have the dingo and the snake in the west. In the north, you have an eagle and an owl. You have a wet kangaroo and emu. Thank you. Sorry. I was thinking of cassowary. That's right. The other one. And the platypus, turtle, and the frog there, which is supposed to be a bear. So anyway, next. Now this one is Bighorn medicine wheel. It's probably the best known in the U.S. It's 80 foot in diameter. How many spokes does it say on there?
56.
No, it's not 56. Wrong. 28 actually, which is half of 56, isn't it? Yeah. So you had it doubly right. 28 spokes obviously represents the feminine, the cycle of the moon. Now this is thought to be about 800 years old, but we have another one. This is up in Canada. This is in Majorville, Alberta. And again, 28 spokes. This one is estimated between 32 and 5,000 years old. And I put a little map showing you approximately where it is in comparison to where in the U.S. You can see the Canadian border there. Okay, next. Chinese medicine wheels. Now, they have a different system. Instead of 4 elements, they have 5. Somehow they have wood and metal, which is, we think of those in the West here, we would call that earth, but they divide it into wood and metal for some reason. Oh, actually they have earth there as well. So that's very interesting. I haven't, to tell you the truth, I haven't looked into the I Ching or the other aspects of Chinese medicine, even though I have had acupuncture and Chinese massage, and that's another whole story. But anyway, they have their version of medicine wheels, and also very into natural remedies as the rest of the world. Next. Well, that was different. How did you do that? I didn't even think about the slide transitions. I could have been a little, that was an interesting transition there. Anyway, in the southern hemisphere, you reverse the north and south. The east and west stay the same. You still have the east is yellow and the west is black as far as the colors and the meaning, and you still travel clockwise. We have some changes in the animals. The wolf becomes the dingo, the buffaloes, the kangaroo, the bear like I say, frog. I mean, give me a break. And the eagle can stay the eagle because there's eagles down here as well. Unfortunately, New Zealand has lost its giant eagles. I don't think they were quite as big as what they claimed in Lord of the Rings, but maybe nearly so. Who knows? So, next. So, this is in New Zealand, the cross house at Maringa, Te Kakara. And this is an artist's conception of what it originally looked like. You can see the obvious connection to the medicine wheel, and the alignment are to the solstice, the summer and winter solstices. And the position was well thought out too, because exactly due north is Ranganui Peak. So the orientation and location were carefully thought out. I don't know if there's anything on the other axis or not, but it was interesting to find this. And this is, I can't remember it. I have something in the notes, but I didn't print it out there.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I did. Because, like I say, there's so much to cover on here. I couldn't memorize it all. The building initiated by King. I hate to pronounce these names because I'm going to get them wrong. King Tahia's directive to chieftainess, Nagaharakiki. Chieftainess, that means obviously woman. So it was a female woman that, and this was said to have been completed in 1865. Bishop Thomas Herangi, guardian of the crosshouse up until the 1980s, cited evidence of the Star Temple having been built in 1682, with renovations occurring in 1788 and 1887. So this goes back a long, long time ago.
So the building was completed out of Tauta and no nails, and it was completely put together just with
So if you didn't hear that, there's no nails in it.
There was no nails in that at all. It was constructed completely out of Tauta.
Out of Tauta.
And flax, yeah, and no nails in the construction. When it burnt down, it burnt down.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Thank you, Blair. When this information was told to a friend from Seneca Nation, she excitedly told us about the 13 clan mothers who were associated with the medicine wheel. These archetypal spirit teachers are associated with the 12 moons of the yearly cycle and the 13th blue moon that only occurs in some calendar years. In the beginning, they had taught the two-leggeds the lessons of how to be a human. Our new friend recommended reading the book, The 13 Original Clan Mothers. So that's...
So they call Tiwanaga of the Temple of the Four Winds.
The Four Winds, yes.
And it's the North Island representative pole to what Castle Hill is to the south.
Oh, thank you.
Both supposed teaching ancient mystery school.
Yep, Ancient Mystery School. Yeah, the Four Winds.
That's the Temple of the Four Winds.
Temple of the Four Winds, it's known as, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have a whole lot of time to do more research because I only just recently came across this.
I'll take you for a visit.
Oh, okay, thank you. Next slide. Let's get a little bit into cosmic medicine wheels. Now, this is kind of mind-blowing. Stonehenge can be considered a medicine wheel. I mean, but it's more than what we know. The mathematical precision of the laying of the stones and the alignment is just mind-boggling. You can spend a lifetime just researching that. The one on the left is a more contemporary one, and signification of what's possible. So next, this is ECETI cosmic wheel. How many here have heard of ECETI Ranch? A couple of you. Okay. Donna and I were recently there. We were there last year. This is in Washington State, and this is near Mount Adams, near not too far up there. I think it's 12 or 13 miles from Mount Adams. And this is an incredible ranch. It's, I forget how many acres, 60, 70 acres. And the protector or guardian of this place, his name is James Gilliland. I should have had a picture of James for this presentation because he's a very unique individual, master healer, master educator. He does talks, he does ceremonies. I can't say enough about him. Anyway, this is his cosmic medicine wheel, and I threw up a few pictures of the different orientations. He's had, as I mentioned before, the 13 grandmothers, and they've talked to him about some of the aspects of what's going on here, which is incredible. And you have the different star nations represented, and I only have a handful of them. There's about a dozen out there actually. And people bring crystals and leave them there, and whatever they're attracted to, because we're not all native, we're all aliens actually. We've come from different places in the more cosmic sense. So I was very moved here. I had some very profound experiences and there at the ranch. And I'll tell you a little story. Just before we got to the ranch, we've of course been living in New Zealand for many, many years. We see hawks all the time. They're everywhere here. Hawks. But we haven't seen an eagle in a couple of decades. So we're just not even an hour away from ECETI Ranch. We're driving from Portland, Oregon to the ranch, and we spot an eagle, and we're just so, whoa, get a picture. And so we click this picture, and it's a tiny little dot off in the distance. You can't even, it's a speck on the lens. But we didn't know what we were shooting at the time, because we looked at the photo later on the camera, blew it up, and there's a couple of objects in the sky we can't explain. They're not planes, they're not birds, they weren't dirigibles. But they were moving so fast that they left a blur. And a lot of people would, oh, it's a lens flare, it's nothing. But no, it was very something to it. You could actually feel it in the photograph. You could sense it. And the eagle signals to us, take it now. And we did, and we captured this very unique photo. And we showed it to James Gilliland, which is a center for, that there's more UFO contact here than in any other place in the US, and that's why we were on our way there. They have more footage, more sightings, and people come from all over the world to this ranch, and they have a night watch of UFO activity. There's actually a portal there, and it's not just crafts from other civilizations, but actually a dimensional portal from other dimensions. So that's why they have this cosmic medicine wheel there honoring the different star nations. Okay, let's move on. This is Lee Carroll. Anyone heard of Lee Carroll and Kryon? He channels Kryon. These are new teachings, and these are Lemurian teaching wheels. Now, this is ancient knowledge and also extraterrestrial knowledge. And this is a different form of writing. These came to him in his channelings. This is the first time he's released this information. This is going back June of last year, not quite a year ago, that he first released this information. And we were there in Canada when he did this. So we were very honored to have been to his presentation. There were 1,500 people there. And he's got some of this deciphered, like seeking balance, and just the front. Some of these are like for a child, and you flip it over and it's for the adult. And it's different levels of understanding of finding your center. So this is cosmic medicine wheel. Okay, next. This is a contemporary the Mesa Healing Center in Pennsylvania, and it's near Pittsburgh. Strange little fact about Pittsburgh: to the southwest is a little town called Glenn Willard. Strange. Okay, next. This one's a lot closer. This is in our yard, and I'm still working on this one. This is a medicine wheel. I'm wondering, we got a little bit of time. No, it'd be too hard to do. I was going to say, can you bring up, go on YouTube and show the little video of it? Or is that too hard to do?
I can try.
Okay, thank you. Now, I built this, actually it's almost 10 years ago, and I just kind of got busy with life and did this, that, and the other, and it got so overgrown you couldn't even see any of the tiles there at all. It was just grass and weeds and growth, and there's a little pond on the right, and even that was in disrepair. I thought all the fish were dead, but it turns out they were busy breeding. The pond is loaded with fish now. So, oh, you brought it up. Okay. Go ahead and run that. So this is what it started out. You can see there was nothing there. Chickens. It doesn't look like we have sound with it, but that's okay. But I added crystals. You can see faintly in there that different kinds of crystals. There's actually amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, white quartz, and agate that are used to with the crystals in that. So the music behind this on the video is something I did a number of years ago as well. But anyway, the entire video was made with still photographs and just manipulating them around. So there's no real video in this, just a series of stills. So anyway, so there we go. Thanks for that. And what do we got now? Oh, back to the 7 directions. Now, we spent a long time about the only true direction is going within. our illusion of our physical self, our illusion of time, our illusion of space, that's all it is, illusion. When we get into the center of ourselves, there's no separation. We are all one. There's only one of us. There's one mind, one heart. And it is us. So that concludes. So thank you very much.